All too often we can get carried away by the raw specifications of products without really concentrating on the user value and industry context. So today for NVMe, I'm going to be joined by three experts to talk both about the contextual value of NVMe as well as a concept called server SAN. So joining me today, I have Tom Layden from Excelero.
Hi Mark, good to be here.
Jason Eccles from Micron. Jason, I hope you're doing well.
Very well, thank you.
And Kevin Deerling, who's from Mellanox. So it's great to have you with us, Kevin.
Great to be here.
So Micron's something of a household name, but the other two companies might be new to some of you watching. So I'm going to ask for some brief introductions. Tom, what does Excelero do?
So Excelero is a storage innovator that specializes in distributed NVMe software.
Thanks, Tom. And Kevin, we all typically get bombarded all the time with news about compute and storage. Do you agree with that assertion? And where does Mellanox fit in?
Yeah, so definitely there's always the compute and then the storage and then you need I/O. You need faster networking. So we say faster storage needs faster networking, and really that's what Mellanox is all about. It's not just about making it faster but more efficient. So doing offloads and making the applications themselves really more efficient.
Okay, Jason, let's get into the main topic with you, if you like. I'd like to know, what is NVMe? After all, we've got lots of storage already, so where does NVMe help?
So in short, it's just a protocol for accessing that storage very efficiently. You're essentially replacing this stack of things that is a legacy from hard drives, like the SAS and SATA interfaces, right? Those things used to be necessary because we had to go to hard drive sectors that were slow and did funky things in the background. Now that we have direct access to the fastest performance in SSDs, NVMe is just a very lightweight protocol to gaining access to that performance.
Okay, Tom, as a company using NVMe, well, I guess I should actually say making NVMe more usable, what are the key applications that can benefit from it, and are there any key challenges with using it?
So the applications that benefit most from NVMe storage are hyperscale applications, which need to scale in capacity, performance, number of users they support. But to leverage the benefits of NVMe, you need to use NVMe within a server locally. So customers who want to deploy NVMe in a distributed way for their hyperscale applications, pretty soon they will run into what we call a data locality problem.
Okay, Tom, thanks. I'll come back to you in a moment for how Excelero, no doubt, addresses that issue. But Jason, remind us again of how NVMe is different from what we've all been used to.
Traditionally, storage has been stuck behind some pretty thick, slow interfaces like SATA and even SAS. Now NVMe strips away a lot of that, makes it lighter, makes the storage faster and easier to access in those environments. So as this continues to grow, we'll start to see more and more adoption. You're going to have more and more ways to deploy it. So NVMe is really freeing up this newer high-performance storage in the form of SSDs that's coming to these nodes.
Kevin, I'd like to bring you in here. We'll talk about networking specifically in a little while, but presumably the interaction between the three organizations represented here helps to optimize the, what should we say, the overall value chain.
Yeah, there's so many different applications once you make the storage faster that all of the networking accelerations and optimizations come into play. So whether it's virtualization or containers or databases or NoSQL databases, all these different things have little optimizations. And when you've fine-tuned everything in the system, every little optimization helps a lot.
Got it. And Jason, what about adoption? What market share does NVMe have already?
That's roughly 5% of the SSDs that are being shipped around the world right now. Over time, it's going to grow very rapidly. I'd say in the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to become the majority of what's shipped in terms of SSD shipments.
Okay, so I think we've covered the basics of the opportunity now. Tom, as promised, back to you. What does Excelero actually offer, and how does that help address the data locality issue that you mentioned earlier?
So Excelero has designed a technology that enables applications to access NVMe over the network as if it were local storage. This way, customers can optimize their ROI by using the full capacity and performance of their NVMe devices. So what you see here is the Nvmesh stack. At the bottom of the stack, you have the standard servers with NVMe drives in there. And on top of that, we put the Nvmesh software. What Nvmesh does is it abstracts the capacity of all those drives, and it creates one pool of block storage. And from that pool, you can create logical volumes, which can be consumed by the applications directly or through a file system.
Hey, thanks, Tom. So, I mean, clearly flexibility is very good, but that flexibility, I'm assuming, in and of itself, demands fast and efficient networking. So, Kevin, let's turn to you so you could explain how Mellanox plays with the Excelero offering.
So they've taken all the fluff out of the storage. So all of the latency has been eliminated. So it's the fastest possible storage you can get on NVMe. And now they've put that into a beautiful package in a scale out box that you can go out and access that. So what you really need is fast networking. And that's where we come into play so that you remotely can access that from tens or hundreds or thousands of servers and get the same performance as if that storage was in your box.
Now that we've covered, I think, all the main key elements here, I'd like to round this out by asking each of you to give some examples, talk a bit about some use cases. Jason, perhaps you could start.
One that one of our customers is doing today is they are ingesting massive amounts of IoT data from across a large network they own. And they need to do some very immediate things to that very quickly. In the matter of a couple of seconds, that data becomes less relevant to them. So they do very fast analysis, store it on NVMe, and then they ship it off to somewhere else to do some more in-depth analytics on that data as well. All of that is made possible by fast NVMe storage that lets them get to those really quick business answers as soon as they need it.
Thanks. And Kevin, I mean, Tom mentioned hyperscale as a use case right up front. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, so I think that hyperscale use case where you see in the cloud, you're basically disaggregating these giant monolithic apps and you have microservices and containers. When that's happening, you get a tremendous amount of east-west traffic, and we're building stateless apps. What that means is that the storage actually needs to be probably remote because you can't put it all in one box, and it needs to be really low latency and really efficient and be able to scale out infinitely almost. And so the ability to go across the network, grab the data that you need, and then bring it into your system as if it was in your own server, that's really what's critical and what we've been able to do with this partnership to build this solution.
Thanks, Kevin. So Tom, to you now, could you give a specific user example?
Sure. A great case study we have is NASA. NASA decided to acquire NVMe drives to power their Hyperwall application. That is a climate simulation application. Pretty soon, though, they run into that data locality problem, which we were able to solve for them.
Does that mean that the majority of focus or use for NVMe is in the HPC type of environment?
No, actually the biggest adoption is in the hyperscale web and cloud and enterprise space, where customers are increasingly adopting the concept of servers. And instead of buying expensive proprietary hardware solutions, these customers are now buying standard servers with NVMe drives.
Okay, and do you have a user example that you could quote here?
Yeah, absolutely. So one customer in that space, whose service we're all using, they have been doing a big effort on standardizing their data center. And as part of that, they have been adding NVMe drives to their servers. But pretty soon they found out that while in some servers NVMe was used to full capacity, most of the servers there was only a usage of 10 to 20% of the capacity or performance of the NVMe drives. And we've been able to solve that for them and level this out.
All right, well, thanks very much to all three of you. I mean, clearly from our discussion, both NVMe and ServiceAN are technologies that are well worth watching. But what came through to me from this conversation is that value, that reason to watch, is not born of the straightforward, if you like, datasheet specifications, just the scale, economics, or performance of NVMe. It's the integration and applicability of these two things that leads to real business value.